Captain Jack Reynolds stared at the message on his screen until his eyes hurt. He read it for the 5th time, hoping the words would somehow change. They didn't. "This can't be right," he muttered, running a hand through his short brown hair. The message was simple but made no sense. The Galactic Council, the ruling body of all 247 known spacefaring species, had just passed a new law. Humans were now banned from all military action anywhere in Council space. The vote had been unanimous. Jack stood up and walked to the window of his office on the human embassy station. Outside, the massive blue-green gas giant Proxima IV filled half the view, its rings glittering in the light of its star. Ships of 100 different designs moved through space around the station. Long, sleek vessels from the Altari worlds, the bulbous, organic-looking ships of the Myth, and the perfectly cubic transports of the logical Vex. Humanity had only joined this community 50 years ago. They were newcomers, with ships that were smaller and slower than most. Human weapons were basic compared to what other species had. In fact, humans were still using modified chemical rockets, while other races had gravity drives and jump technology that had been old when Earth's first fish crawled onto land. So why were humans banned from warfare? The door slid open, and Ambassador Tom Grant walked in. His lined face looked even older today. "I guess you've seen it," Tom said, dropping into a chair. "I've seen it, but I don't understand it," Jack replied. "We're barely a blip on the galactic radar. Our military technology is a joke compared to even the weakest council races. Why are they so afraid of us?" Tom handed Jack a datapad. "The official reason is extreme danger to cosmic stability, whatever that means." "That's it? No details? No explanation? Nothing? I've asked for clarification, but the council chambers have gone quiet. No one will talk to me." Jack tossed the pad onto his desk in frustration. "This makes no sense. The Drukar Empire has literal planet-killing weapons. The Xiln Collective can make stars go nova. But humans? We've never even fought a war outside our own solar system." Tom nodded slowly. "That's what worries me. They're not afraid of what we've done. They're afraid of what we might do." Jack's communication device chimed. A message from Fleet Command. He was being recalled to Earth immediately for an emergency meeting. "I need to get to the bottom of this," Jack said. "As Earth's military liaison to the Council, I have a right to know why we've been singled out." "Be careful, Jack," Tom warned. "I've been in politics long enough to know when something big is happening behind the scenes. The Council doesn't do anything without a reason." "That's what I'm counting on," Jack replied, gathering his things. "And whatever that reason is, I'm going to find it." An hour later, Jack was aboard the transport ship *Everest*, heading back to Earth. As the blue marble of his homeworld grew larger in the viewport, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was being judged for something they didn't understand. In his quarters, he pulled up every record he could find of human interactions with other species. Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, diplomatic missions, all normal, all peaceful. The only unusual incident had been 5 years ago, when the cargo ship Horizon had been attacked by Drukar raiders. The small security team on board had somehow managed to fight off the attackers and even capture one of their ships. Jack paused. That incident had been hushed up quickly. Too quickly. The Council had taken over the investigation and classified all the details. "Computer, pull up everything you can find on the Horizon incident," Jack ordered. "Access denied. Those files are sealed by Galactic Council directive," the computer replied. Jack leaned back in his chair, a cold feeling settling in his stomach. Whatever had happened on the Horizon might be the key to understanding why humans were now considered too dangerous for warfare. And someone didn't want him to know about it. 5 years earlier, Lisa Miller checked her weapon one more time. The cargo ship Horizon was on a standard run between Earth and the mining colony on Epsilon 9 when the alarms had sounded. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the red emergency lights flashing throughout the ship. "3 Drukhar Raider ships approaching fast," replied Ben, the youngest member of her 4-person security team. His hand shook slightly as he loaded his rifle. "They're not responding to hails." Lisa nodded. The Drukhar were known raiders from the outer systems. Their ships were faster, stronger, and carried weapons that could cut through the Horizon's hull like paper. A proper military vessel might stand a chance against them. A cargo ship with a small security detail. Not so much. "Are the civilians secure?" she asked. "All 23 crew members are in the safe room," Jenna confirmed, her dark eyes focused on the tactical display. "But those won't hold against Drukhar weapons for long." The 4th member of their team, Marcus, was already checking the ship's schematics. "Standard procedure says we surrender the cargo and hope they leave us alive," he said. Lisa looked at her team. All trained, but none had seen actual combat except herself. "We're not following standard procedure today," she said quietly. The others looked at her in surprise. "The Drukhar don't always just take cargo," she explained. "They sometimes take people too. Slaves or worse. I'm not risking that." "But what can we do against 3 raider ships?" Ben asked, his voice cracking. Lisa smiled grimly. "We can fight smart instead of fighting fair." 20 minutes later, the first Drukhar boarding craft attached to the Horizon's airlock. The raiders, tall insectoid beings in heavy armor, moved in with practiced efficiency, weapons ready. But the corridors were empty. "No resistance," the lead raider reported back to their ship. "Proceeding to cargo hold." What the raiders didn't know was that Lisa had studied Drukhar tactics extensively. They always followed the same pattern. Secure the ship, move to the cargo hold, then find the crew. Predictable. Humans were anything but predictable. As the raiders entered the main cargo area, the trap was sprung. Hidden behind shipping containers, Lisa's team opened fire from 3 different positions. The surprise was total. 4 raiders fell before they could return fire. "Move," Lisa shouted as she threw a flash grenade. Her team changed positions immediately while the Drukhar, temporarily blinded, fired wildly at their previous locations. On the security cameras, Lisa saw the second boarding party preparing to enter. Right on time. "Marcus now," she ordered through her comm. In the engine room, Marcus overrode the safety protocols and vented superheated steam through the corridor where the second boarding party was advancing. Their screams came through the comm system before they went silent. The first group of raiders, recovering from the flash grenade, tried to retreat. Lisa had anticipated this too. Jenna, hidden in the ceiling panels, dropped a magnetic net that immobilized their armor. "Their ships will be sending more," Ben warned, checking the sensors. "That's what I'm counting on," Lisa replied. When the commander of the Drukhar raiders realized something had gone wrong, he decided to board personally with his elite guards. Their ship docked with the Horizon right where Lisa wanted them, next to the auxiliary fuel tanks. As soon as they breached the airlock, Ben detonated the small charges they had placed. The explosion wasn't big enough to damage the Horizon severely, but it was enough to cripple the Drukhar ship attached to them. The fight that followed was brutal and close quarters. Lisa's team used their knowledge of the ship to separate the raiders, ambush them, and eliminate them one by one. When it was over, Lisa stood in the captured Drukhar command ship, blood dripping from a cut on her forehead. Through the view screen, she watched the remaining raider vessel flee. "We did it," Ben said in disbelief. "We actually beat them." Lisa nodded slowly, already composing her report. But deep down, she knew this wasn't over. The Drukhar had never been defeated by a human crew before. Questions would be asked. And somewhere in the stars, the Galactic Council would take notice of the species that refused to follow the rules of engagement. They had won the battle. But Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they had started something much bigger. Thorin adjusted his breathing apparatus as he stepped off his ship onto Earth soil. The nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere was barely tolerable to his Oldurian physiology, but he would endure it. As the Galactic Council's lead investigator, his mission was too important to conduct remotely. "Welcome to Earth, Investigator Thorin," said his human guide, a woman named Kate from their diplomatic corps. "Your visit honors us." Thorin's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of skepticism in his species. The humans thought this was a standard cultural exchange. They didn't know he had been sent to investigate them following the Horizon incident. "I wish to see your historical archives first," Thorin said, his translator converting his whistling speech to English. Kate looked surprised. "Not our technology centers or military bases. Your history will tell me more about who you are than your weapons ever could," Thorin replied. 3 days later, Thorin sat alone in his temporary quarters, his 4 hands trembling as he compiled his report for the Council. What he had discovered disturbed him deeply. Humans had spent their entire existence fighting, not just for resources or territory like most species, but for ideas, for beliefs, for sport. They had developed countless forms of combat, from bare hands to nuclear weapons. They had written thousands of books on strategy and tactics. They had turned warfare into an art form. "Computer, add this to my report," Thorin said. "Unlike any other known species, humans have developed warfare as a cultural practice independent of necessity. Where the Drukar fight for food and the myth for territory, humans have fought for concepts. They call these freedom, religion, honor, and other abstractions that have no material value." The computer beeped in acknowledgement. "Furthermore," Thorin continued, "humans display an unusual relationship with defeat. Most species accept domination when overpowered. Humans intensify their resistance. They call this determination or grit. It makes their behavior in conflict situations highly unpredictable." The next day, Thorin visited a museum dedicated to something humans called World War II. He watched silently as Kate explained various exhibits. "This was one of our largest conflicts," she said with a somber tone. "Millions died." "Yet you memorialize it," Thorin noted. "You study it." Kate nodded. "To remember the cost of war, to honor those who fought, to learn." "To learn what?" "How to fight better next time," she said simply. Thorin added this to his report that night, along with a disturbing discovery. Humans adapted any technology for warfare with frightening speed. The first powered flight and the first aerial bombing were separated by just 11 years. Nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, 7 years. Computer networks and cyber warfare, 20 years. The final piece came when Thorin requested data about the Horizon incident. The human security team had defeated Drukar raiders using improvised weapons and tactics that no simulation had predicted. They had turned the ship itself into a weapon. 1 month later, Thorin presented his findings to the Galactic Council. "Honored members," he began, "I believe humans represent a unique threat to galactic stability. Not because they are stronger or more advanced, but because they are fundamentally unpredictable in conflict situations." A Vex counselor's lights flickered in doubt. "They are primitive. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are weak." "That is precisely what makes them dangerous," Thorin replied. "They do not rely on technology to win. They use creativity." He displayed footage from historical human conflicts, showing inferior forces defeating superior ones through guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and psychological warfare. The Horizon incident was not an anomaly, Thorin concluded. It was simply the first time we have seen humans apply their natural approach to warfare in space. I recommend immediate restrictions on their military activities before other species learn from them. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. It wasn't human technology they feared. It was human thinking. "We must test your theory," the council leader finally said. "Arrange a controlled combat exercise. We need to see these humans in action for ourselves." Thorin bowed in agreement, but inwardly he worried. He had studied enough human history to know one thing for certain. Testing humans often yielded unexpected results. Major Tom Walker looked at his small team of 5 soldiers. They stood in a plain white room on the Galactic Council's neutral space station, waiting for instructions. "Run this by me again," said Corporal Mike Davis, checking his training weapon for the 3rd time. "We're doing a friendly exercise against aliens who are way more advanced than us." Tom nodded. "The Council calls it a cultural exchange. They want to see different combat styles in action." "With these toys?" asked Sergeant Anna Reed, holding up her weapon. It fired gel packets that would mark a hit without causing injury. "Feels like we're being set up to fail." "Or studied," said Lieutenant James Foster, the team's tactical expert. "I served with scientists before. The way they're watching us. This is a lab test, not a friendly game." Tom couldn't disagree. Through the glass walls, he could see at least 30 alien observers taking notes and discussing among themselves. Something wasn't right about this whole setup. A blue-skinned council representative entered the room. "The exercise will begin shortly. You will face teams from 4 other species. The simulation will include various terrains, non-lethal weapons only." "What are the victory conditions?" Tom asked. The alien blinked slowly. "Simple survival would be an achievement for your team, Major." After the representative left, Anna snorted. "Did he just say they don't expect us to survive a training exercise?" "I think we need to show them what humans can do," Tom said with a tight smile. "Let's go over the plan one more time." The simulation arena was massive. A dome nearly a kilometer across, with sections representing different environments. Urban ruins, dense forest, open plains, and rocky mountains. Tom's team entered from the south side. The other teams, the insectoid Drukar, the massive bear-like Urson, the quick reptilian Vex, and the floating jellyfish-like Myth, entered from other points. From observation platforms above, the council members and scientists watched with interest. Thorin stood among them, his 4 eyes focused intensely on the humans. "The humans are severely outmatched," noted a Vex council member. "The Drukar have natural armor. The Urson have 3 times their strength." "Watch," Thorin said simply. Inside the arena, Tom gathered his team in the forest section. "They expect us to play by their rules. We won't." Instead of engaging directly, the humans disappeared into the terrain. The other teams, used to direct combat, moved in formation across the arena. They began to engage each other while searching for the humans. 2 hours later, the observers were leaning forward in shock. The humans had yet to fire a single shot, but they had completely changed the dynamic of the exercise. First, they had scattered items from their packs. Pieces of cloth, broken equipment, creating false trails that led 3 teams into conflicts with each other. Next, they had used the environment itself as a weapon. The Vex team found themselves trapped in a ravine when the humans triggered a landslide. The Myth were disoriented when the humans reflected light off broken glass to confuse their sensitive visual organs. "Fascinating," Thorin whispered. "They're not fighting with their weapons. They're fighting with their minds." The turning point came when the Drukar, frustrated by the humans' evasion, split their forces to cover more ground. Tom's team had been waiting for exactly this mistake. Using hand signals and coordinated timing, the humans ambushed the separated Drukar squads one by one. Their gel rounds hit with perfect accuracy, eliminating 3 Drukar before the others even knew they were under attack. By the final hour, only the human team and a few members of the Urson force remained. The Urson, confident in their superior strength, set a trap in the urban ruins. They expected the humans to follow them into the narrow streets. Instead, Tom's team set fire to buildings on 3 sides, using smoke to drive the Urson into the open plain where they had no cover. The final confrontation lasted less than 5 minutes. When the simulation ended, the observers sat in stunned silence. The human team, outnumbered and outmatched, had eliminated all opposition without suffering a single casualty. "Now do you understand?" Thorin asked quietly. It's not their weapons we should fear. It's this. He tapped his head. The council leader stood slowly. The analysis must begin immediately. These humans are more dangerous than we imagined. Deep within the Galactic Council's secure archives, Thorin and his team worked tirelessly. Holographic displays filled the circular room, showing footage from the combat simulation, historical human battles, and the Horizon incident. Play it again, Thorin ordered, his 4 eyes fixed on Major Walker's team as they set up the landslide trap. Slower this time. Dr. Kelva, a myth analyst with flowing tentacles, floated beside him. I've reviewed the data 17 times now. The conclusion remains the same. I know, Thorin said quietly, but the Council won't accept it without overwhelming evidence. For 3 weeks, the analysis team had studied every aspect of human combat behavior. The results were clear but disturbing. It's not their physical capabilities, said Analyst Dorn, a stocky Urson, pointing to comparative charts. In fact, humans are quite weak by galactic standards. No natural armor, average speed, limited strength. It's not their technology either, added Kelva, bringing up images of human weapons. Their most advanced systems are centuries behind Drukar technology. Thorin nodded. It's their minds, their adaptability, their unpredictability. He brought up side-by-side comparisons of different alien species in combat situations. The patterns were obvious. Drukar always relied on superior firepower and direct assault. Vex used their speed for flanking maneuvers. Myth preferred defensive positions and long-range attacks. Every species had evolved predictable combat behaviors, except humans. Look here, Thorin said, highlighting the forest section of the simulation. When the Drukar tried to flush them out with suppressing fire, the humans didn't retreat to better cover as any logical species would. They circled around and attacked from behind, Kelva noted, taking the longer route despite increased personal risk. And here, Thorin continued, switching to urban terrain footage. When faced with Urson's strength, they didn't engage at all. They changed the battlefield itself. The fire was particularly creative, Dorn admitted grudgingly. No Urson would have considered using the environment that way. Thorin brought up his final evidence, a psychological analysis of human combat literature. Sun Tzu's *Art of War*, Clausewitz's *on War*, guerrilla tactics manuals, even human entertainment about warfare. In 10,000 years, the Drukar have produced exactly 6 texts on combat doctrine, Thorin said. Humans have produced thousands in their brief history. They analyze warfare constantly, from every angle. But why? Asked Kelva. Most species develop past warfare as they advance. Humans haven't advanced enough, Dorn suggested. They're still primitive. Thorin shook his head. No. Even their most advanced societies continue this obsession with combat innovation. It's not about technology. It's cultural. He displayed his final conclusion on the main screen. Human combat behavior cannot be reliably modeled or predicted. Their documented history shows they routinely violate principles that other species consider fundamental to warfare. They willingly accept high casualties, employ seemingly irrational strategies, and adapt tactics at a rate that defies standard learning curves. What does this mean for the Council? Kelva asked, her tentacles twisting anxiously. It means that unrestricted human warfare could destabilize the entire galactic peace, Thorin said grimly. Not because humans would conquer anyone, but because they would introduce chaos into a system built on predictability. He closed the files and prepared his formal recommendation. Every species in the Council follows certain rules in conflict, rules based on their biology, psychology, and evolution. These unspoken rules make galactic warfare predictable and therefore controllable. Humans break those rules without even knowing they exist. Thorin's final words in his report were simple but alarming. If humans are allowed to engage in warfare freely, other species will begin to copy them. The carefully maintained balance of power that has kept peace for 10,000 years could collapse in a single generation. 3 days later, the Council voted unanimously to ban humans from all military engagements throughout Council space. But as Thorin left the Council chambers, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had only addressed a symptom, not the cause. Banning humans from warfare wouldn't make them any less human. Captain Jack Reynolds marched through the gleaming corridors of the Galactic Council's main station. His face was set in determination as council guards in ceremonial armor parted to let him pass. After weeks of investigation, calling in favors, and piecing together classified information, he finally had what he needed. The massive doors to the council leader's private chamber slid open silently. Inside, Council Leader Varen stood by a viewport, gazing at the stars. Varen was a Tellurian, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Tall and slender with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within, Tellurians had evolved beyond physical conflict millions of years ago. "Captain Reynolds," Varen said without turning. "I've been expecting you." "I want answers," Jack said, stepping forward. "The real reason behind the ban on human warfare." Varen turned slowly, ancient eyes studying Jack. "You've been busy. Breaking into classified archives is a serious offense. So is lying to an entire species about why they're being singled out," Jack countered, placing a data pad on the table between them. "I know about the Horizon incident, about Thorin's investigation, about the combat simulation." "Then you understand our decision," Varen said calmly. "No, I don't," Jack replied, activating the datapad. Images appeared in the air between them. Footage of attacks on outlying worlds, reports of ships going missing, distress calls unanswered. "While you've been busy banning humans from fighting, the raids from beyond the rim have increased. The void hegemony is getting bolder. Your standard defensive protocols aren't working anymore." Varen's expression didn't change. "These matters are being handled according to council procedures." "People are dying while you follow procedures," Jack said angrily. "Your predictable tactics are failing because the hegemony is adapting. Meanwhile, the one species that specializes in adapting to combat situations is banned from helping." Jack brought up more images, maps showing patterns of attacks, response times, casualty figures. "The ban isn't about protecting the galaxy from humans," he continued. "It's about protecting established powers from change. Human tactics could help these worlds defend themselves." Varen was silent for a long moment, studying the human before him. Finally, the ancient Tellurian sighed. "You misunderstand our concerns, Captain," Varen said, moving to a control panel. The room darkened as a holographic display appeared, showing the galaxy with points of light representing different species and their territories. "For 10,000 years, we have maintained peace through balance. Every major species has strengths and weaknesses. Their approaches to conflict are known quantities." The display zoomed in on Earth, a tiny blue dot. "Then we discovered humans," Varen continued. "A species that treats warfare as a puzzle to be solved rather than a tragedy to be avoided. A species that sees rules as suggestions. A species that turns disadvantages into advantages." Jack crossed his arms. "You make us sound clever, not dangerous." Varen's eyes locked with Jack's. "It is not that we fear you will lose, Captain Reynolds. We fear what you will become if you win." The words hung in the air between them. "What does that mean?" Jack asked. "Throughout history, species that excel at warfare eventually come to rely on it," Varen explained. "If humans were allowed to fight the hegemony, you would win. You would adapt. You would grow stronger. And then what? Would you be content to return to your small corner of the galaxy?" Jack stepped closer. "We're not conquerors." "Not yet," Varen said softly. "But power changes even the most peaceful species. We have seen it before." Jack stared at the galactic map, thinking of Earth's own history. How many nations had started wars claiming defense only to end in conquest? "We're not asking to lead your armies," Jack said finally. "But there must be some way humans can help without threatening your balance of power." Varen studied him for a long moment. Perhaps, the ancient Tellurian said, there is a compromise to be found. 3 months after Jack's meeting with Varen, a new crisis erupted. The planet Nexus IV, an important trading hub near the galactic rim, sent out a desperate distress call. The Void Hegemony, a collection of predatory species from beyond known space, had launched a full-scale invasion. The council chamber was in chaos as representatives argued about how to respond. "Our standard defense fleet is already on the way," announced the Vex delegate, lights pulsing rapidly across its cubic body. "They will arrive in 7 standard days." "Nexus will fall in 3, countered the Drukar representative, mandibles clicking in agitation. "The hegemony has adapted to our defensive patterns. They know exactly how our ships will approach and when." At the back of the chamber, Jack and Ambassador Tom stood silently, waiting. Finally, Varen rose from the council leader's seat, and the room fell quiet. "There is an option we have not yet considered," Varen said carefully. "A new directive that has been prepared for just such an emergency." The massive viewscreen displayed a document titled Emergency Protocol 217A, Human Tactical Advisory Initiative. A wave of surprise and confusion swept through the chamber. "The ban on human warfare remains in effect," Varen continued. "However, this protocol creates a specific exception. Humans cannot engage in combat directly, but they may serve as tactical advisors in specific circumstances." Jack stepped forward as Varen gestured to him. "Captain Reynolds will lead the first advisory team to Nexus IV. They will not fight. They will not command. They will only suggest." 48 hours later, Jack's transport landed on Nexus IV. Smoke rose from the capital city as hegemony forces pressed their attack. The planet's defenders, a mix of myth, Vex, and local security forces, were falling back in an orderly but losing retreat. Governor Lorax, a tall myth with iridescent tentacles, greeted Jack's team with obvious skepticism. "Advisors, we need soldiers, not ideas," Lorax said bitterly. "Give us 6 hours," Jack replied calmly. "If you don't like our suggestions by then, we'll leave." 5 hours later, the governor stared at the battle plans in disbelief. "This violates every principle of defensive warfare in the Council Tactical Manual," Lorax protested. "Exactly," said Major Tom Walker, who had joined Jack's team after the simulation. "The hegemony has studied your manual too. They know what you'll do before you do it. But these tactics," Lorax's tentacles twisted nervously, "deliberate gaps in our lines, fake retreats, letting them take the central plaza. Trust us," Jack said simply. The next morning, the hegemony forces charged forward to exploit what they thought was a weakness in the defensive line. They poured troops into the gap, expecting to split the defenders in 2. Instead, they found themselves funneled into a carefully prepared kill zone. Automated defense turrets, repositioned overnight according to human suggestions, opened fire from hidden positions. The fake retreat turned into a devastating ambush. By nightfall, the hegemony forces were in disarray. Their commanders, used to fighting predictable opponents, couldn't adapt to the constantly changing defense patterns. After 3 days of mounting losses, they retreated from the system entirely. Not a single human had fired a shot. 1 month later, Jack stood before the Galactic Council, again as Varen presented the official report. "The Human Tactical Advisory Initiative has proven successful beyond expectations," Varen announced. "Similar operations on 5 other worlds have yielded the same results. The hegemony has withdrawn from Council space entirely." Later, in a private meeting, Varen spoke candidly with Jack. "You understand now, don't you? Why we feared human warfare?" Jack nodded slowly. "We didn't just help defend those worlds. We changed how they think about fighting." "Precisely," Varen said. "Already, 20 species have requested human advisory teams. They want to learn your methods." "Is that so bad?" Jack asked. "The hegemony has gone." "For now," Varen replied. "But the galaxy has changed. The predictability that maintained peace for 10,000 years is fading. We've opened a door that cannot be closed. Jack smiled slightly. Then it's good you banned us from fighting our own wars. As advisors, we can teach without conquering. Varen's ancient eyes studied Jack. Perhaps this is the balance we needed. The galaxy gains human ingenuity without human ambition. As Jack left the council station, he reflected on the irony. The Galactic Council had banned humans from warfare not because they were savage, but because humans had turned conflict itself into an art form that other species could neither comprehend nor counter. And in doing so, they had become the galaxy's most valuable peacekeepers.